The story of the war will never be fully or fairly written if the achievements of women in it are untold.
Why did the North win the Civil War? Civil War from 1861 to 1865 is considered the bloodiest war in American history. The success of the Union has been contributed to many things over the years. Abraham Lincoln's leadership, the hard work of the soldiers, or to General Grant and his decisions on the battlefield. What most do not think of when they ponder the success of the Union are women. In actuality, women played a substantial role in the favorable outcome for the Union. Women contributed through services such as pretending to be male soldiers and spies, creating ladies' aid societies and support groups, and working as nurses in hospitals. Younger, unattached women would travel around the Union, visiting Washington or visiting the battlefields and wounded through various organizations. Older women with families usually stayed near their homes and found a local charity to which they could donate their time. In contrast, Southern women stayed at home and looked after the plantations instead of going and helping their soldiers. Even though women were not permitted to fight during the war, many took up arms disguised as men. The true number of these female soldiers will never be known, but their numbers numbered in the thousands. Only a few were discovered, and if they were, the women usually re-enlisted. These women had amazing stories, which will be passed down for generations. Not all women who enlisted fought alongside men. Home Guards were all women regiments made to protect the home front while the men were away. Other women became spies, relaying enemy positions back to the Union. Because women looked innocent, they were much more efficient than men placed in the same job. The vital information that women spies gave the Union helped greatly to increase the Union chance of victory over the Confederacy.
The girl named Emily is one of the most famous stories throughout the Civil War of a young female soldier. During the struggle for Chattanooga, she was struck in the side by a mine ball and her wound was fatal. Though she would originally not give her name to the Union troops, she eventually telegraphed her father. Her last word was Emily.
As I can't fight, I will content myself by working for those who can. Louisa May Alcott. Women also supported the war by becoming nurses. The absence of men left a plethora of positions to be filled. Elizabeth Blackwell and Dorothy Dix created the Women's Central Association of Relief. Lincoln created the United States Sanitary Commission, which was divided into 12 branches. Women were at the helm of all 12 branches.
Annie Etheridge, also known as Gentle Annie, would riding on a horse, go through the battlefield and help wounded soldiers. She would also pick up arms and fight against the enemy. When she was told to leave the war, she joined a hospital and kept serving. At the end of the war, she was presented with the Kearney Cross Award, which was for bravery among enlisted men.
Northern women also joined together and formed support groups, raising money and sending care packages to the soldiers. Around 10,000 support groups formed during the Civil War, all with the purpose of providing for their soldiers. Women would gather and sew clothing and blankets for the soldiers after they heard about the living conditions the military had to endure. The United States Christian Commission also had the goal to give every soldier a Bible. In 1861, in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, over 100 women formed a Ladies Soldiers' Aid Society. Their mission was to provide the comforts of home to their soldiers on the battlefield. They knitted blankets and sheets and socks and uniforms, everything that their soldiers needed to be successful. Their group wasn't unusual. In the U.S. during the Civil War, there was over 10,000 of these support groups. Women in the North kept up with the farm work and household chores so that the men could leave to go to war without repercussions like not having enough food. In fact, the Department of Agriculture said in 1862, on 3 farms out of 4, the wife works harder and endures more than any other on the place. Educated women also replaced departed men as clerks in stores and other various town jobs.
Southern women stayed home at the beginning of the Civil War to take care of their kids and the plantations. At the end of the Civil War, more Southern women would try to join the forces and become spies and nurses.
Women played a vital role in the Civil War, even though they were not always acknowledged. Through roles such as disguised soldiers, support groups, and nurses, women were the secret weapons to the success of the Union. Without the hard work and dedication that women contributed to the war, it is possible that the Civil War could have turned out very differently.
To the women of the Republic, you have shown true courage and self-sacrifice from the beginning of the war. You have been angels of mercy to our sick and dying soldiers in camp and hospital, and on the battlefield. Elizabeth Stanton, 1864.